Oh, there we go. So now we're live. Welcome, everybody, to the Habitat's weekly issue triage call for the week of April 24th, 2018. Moving right along. We're just churning through this year somehow. It's going by quick. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Try and share my screen here if I can remember how to computer. It's a little bit difficult for me at times. Sweet. So the first thing we're going to hit is 1464. Go ahead and pull that up. Looks like there was a conversation about this. Let's see what Romain has to say. Yes. Okay. So the issue is effectively like, I don't know if any of you have ever tried to build LLVM inside of Builder or even locally, but it takes kind of a significant amount of effort to get it to go through because it's a really, really incredibly long build. Yeah, basically we just need to modify that package. I'm going to go ahead and put this one into the backlog. This is going to be something that we're definitely going to want to do. It should be a trivial change, but it is a time-consuming change just because it takes like 90 minutes on a C4 extra large in AWS to build that package. Cool plans. Yes, cool. I'll just go ahead and put it in the backlog. And I think, yeah, we're good. Cool. Let's go ahead and move on to 1392. Give everybody a second to read this. This is an old one. Popping back up here. So the request is more or less, can we get, for our commands that require sudo, like entering the studio, can we tweak the behavior to just automatically switch to sudo if you haven't provided it explicitly? I feel like people had feelings about this the last time we talked about it, which was almost a year ago. So I don't know if anybody has any thoughts on this right now from a user experience perspective.
So it's saying that if we run a sudo something, right? It's what is the behavior that they would like to see?
No, so what they're saying is like, so if you do Hab Studio enter and you don't pass sudo, what ends up happening is we just like we just add the sudo on anyways, and we there's like a something that gets logged to the terminal. It's like, hey,
right,
sudo right now. So
and then
that's kind of the idea for the request, is to have that same behavior for the rest of our subcommands that require sudoers.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I know I get constantly bitten by this now that I've moved over to Linux, where it's like had package install a thing, it fails because libarchive can't unpack to a root directory, and then I'm just like, oh god, okay, sudo bang bang. So, I mean, I wouldn't be mad about this.
Yeah, I don't think I would either. We could probably put this into help wanted. Just see. I don't see it getting prioritized, but it's not necessarily a bad thing for sure.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and throw those flags on there and get rid of that. This is a CLI thing. This would be I guess it's a feature. Yeah. And then I'll put it on the backlog.
Ian, did your filter get a little messed up because you jumped from the newest issue to maybe one of the oldest issues?
I don't know how it would have. Oh, maybe it did. Maybe it did. Yeah, strange. Well, that one got off easy, I guess. So cool. Thanks for pointing that out. So we would have just been doing whatever random shit was in that list. So
No worries.
all right, let's move on to builder number 390.
Wonder if this is because the user agent is what's being used. We had a similar issue recently.
Sounds like this is in the UI though.
Yeah.
Like that messaging, I think, is only visible in the UI.
Okay.
I think.
That might have something to do with the API call that's powering the UI, that particular view.
Yeah, I mean the UI doesn't ask for anything OS or platform specific for that call for that view. It just says give me the latest. So yeah, we might have this might be a bug.
Yeah.
If I think assuming that we don't want that behavior, yeah, shouldn't sound right.
Yeah. Cool. Well, let me add some labels on here. Do we actually that should be UI, shouldn't it? Yeah. Get rid of this. So can we change this title to something that's a little more accurate to what's being asked for? I guess is I don't know.
Yeah.
What's a concise title here? Naming things is hard.
Windows only packages don't show up in Builder.
On the latest view, yeah.
Cool. All right, I'll go ahead and drop that in the backlog as well. Sweet. Let's go ahead and move on to 1452.
No, my beautiful Rethink DB package. Not like this.
Yeah. Guess you're going to have to do something about that, huh, Elliot?
Well, if I ever start using Rethink DB again, maybe.
All right. So this is going to be a chore, or actually it is a bug, I guess, technically. So the new base set, it doesn't build. There's going to be some discovery work that probably needs to go into figuring out why. And we'll go ahead, throw it on the backlog. I think there's going to be a bunch of these that are all going to be from Roman that are effectively, he's been helping out with the base refresh. And so a bunch of these are some of the packages that just don't build anymore. Yep. Here's another one. Yep. Okay. So I'm going to do the same thing with this one. I'll triage it exactly the same. We'll probably just do this with a bunch of these here.
Yeah, the next 13 or so.
Awesome.
Maybe we'll take a coffee break while you're doing this.
Yeah. It's not a bad idea. Here's a feature request, 4979. It'd be nice if the studio had the ability to either automatically update itself on launch or at least notify if Habitat is out of date.
I think your filter got messed again.
Did it really?
Yeah.
What is going on? No.
That was just.
That's correct.
Yeah. Did it just come in?
Yeah, this one came in 3 days ago, it looks like.
Oh, okay. Okay, there it is. Sorry.
Anybody have any thoughts on this?
I certainly think it would be nice if at least the second part of that told you something. That's kind of nice. I don't have a strong opinion about the first one though. The first part of it.
Yeah.
I think this probably applies to a lot of a broader set of packages. I mean, there are a lot of packages that I would like to know if they've been updated or like have an update when I run them or just use them.
Yeah, that seems like it'd be nice.
Yeah. This is probably one of the only, well, unless you're explicitly specifying some old version, though, unless you're have package execing with a really explicit version, I don't know that you'd ever run into that outside of this specific context of using Habitat, since the way that we operate it.
Yeah. I mean, it is weird, right? I mean, I run core get on my workstation, right? So I want to know if there's an update that's been pushed to that, but right now I can't. Like, there's no way for me to know.
Right. Other than just like explicitly.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I could run a shell script or something that iterates all my packages and installs them all again. Yeah.
So, which is interesting, the idea of being able to just do a have package upgrade and upgrade a full system and break it into oblivion, like Arch Linux style. I don't hate the idea. Cool. Yeah. So, I mean, is anybody opposed? Like, if a community member wanted to hack on this,
yeah, I'd be down for a notification at least. Like, have Studio enter. You've got an old version.
Yeah.
Well, this might be impacted by the packaging discussion that we're having, right? Because we could be packaging the CLI and the Cuttle and other things together, so maybe so all becomes one big thing.
Yeah, I think either way, yeah, you're right. All that stuff being bound up together will definitely complicate the way we handle that. If it does feel like if we had a generic functionality for determining whether or not a package you're running is the latest version, then this could be arbitrated by that.
Right. So maybe start by adding something to Hab version or Studio version or something that says, here's the version, and by the way, here's the latest.
Yeah. So there might be some Rust, there might be some shell in there too.
Yeah, I mean, this seems like it could become a big feature, and instead of like saying, yeah, let's do a big feature, let's maybe start small. And
yeah,
if the community wants to tackle it, that would be a nice small project for them to do.
Yeah. I'm going to throw a help wanted label on it for now. And yeah, this would probably be a good one for folks who are wanting to kind of get involved. It's, if you wanted to go with something really simple, like a notification or some kind of log message, that's probably the simplest approach for now. And then the second half of that would be to go a little bit further and implement some kind of actual upgrade mechanism. So,
yep, perfect.
Which would be significantly more work. Cool. All right. Okay, so I'm actually going to select all of these. We'll just move those into the backlog. Oh, wait, can I do that? Yeah. Apply labels as well. Oh, that's awesome. Okay.
That is nice.
Oh, that's a new one. Yeah, that's delightful.
Way to go, ZenHub. This is going to be, it's already labeled as a bug. It's going to be some shell. And it's going to be core plans. Bingo, look at that. Then we can just move it over to the backlog. Done. Beautiful. Oops, now I need to figure out how to, there we go. All right, 1418, this might be another one. Yeah, it's another one, just had a different title. So go ahead and do this one as well. Core plans. Dump that into the backlog. Done. All right, 388. Mr. Josh Black opened this one.
That would be nice.
I think I just got spoiled. Like, as someone that works a lot on the HTTP API, I was spoiled by the ability to just like take my GitHub token and like toss it right into curl, and everything just worked. So yeah, it would just. I know some places like Bitbucket, for example, they have an API call where you can pass your username and a password in the API call, and it will return you a token using like basic auth or something like that. But of course, the tricky part is, builder users don't really have a username and password, since all of our auth is via some kind of OAuth third-party thing. So anyway, this was more just like, if this existed, I'd be thrilled.
Well, I think the good news is that this does exist, and we just haven't gone the final mile yet in terms of enabling it, at least for dev users, because we have the notion of admin token, a builder token. So you can generate anybody can generate a token. It's all a matter of having the right keys available to you. And so if you're setting up a new depot, you obviously have the keys. And we just need to hook this into the OP tool. There's another card for doing that. And then you don't have to have the web UI.
Wow, that sounds great.
All right, then I'll throw that on the backlog.
Do we need to put any...
we should merge it with that other card.
Oh, okay. Merge it with the other card. I was going to say, it would be nice to have some context, right? Yeah. So like everything you said doesn't get lost when someone comes back to this card.
Yeah, so let me see if I can find that other one.
Yeah,
it's actually one of the top 5 or 6 things we need to do. Should be in our ready for analysis. You guys go ahead. I'll link it. I'll find and link it as you go ahead.
I also just tried to go to getwho.com, so that's not a website. All right, let's move on to 4964. It's a documentation card. Yeah. Oh, okay. So we have a couple of broken things here. I would assume like if the code is going to change, then the docs probably will change as well, right?
Hopefully, but unnecessarily. Like
Isn't this something that you and I were looking at, Matt, a couple of weeks ago? I had delved into the code, you delved into the code, and there's the deprecation warning that comes up and says you need to move it to the new location. And if you don't move it to the new location, it doesn't get watched. And you and I were both going to write some documentation. I didn't get around to it. I don't know whether you did.
Yeah, that look. I think that's correct. So we have a deprecation warning, but if you use it in the old location, it straight just doesn't get picked up. Is that what you were seeing?
That's correct. If you use it in the old location, it does get picked up, but it doesn't get watched.
Got it.
Right. Yeah. And only the first time. So like on a supervisor start, not a service start or something like that. Some weird behavior.
So we might need another card. Unless did you open a card for that, Stephen?
No, I thought Matt had.
He might have. Let's see, and it could already be in the backlog. fact, let's just check it out. Oh, maybe not. Yeah, it looks like maybe he hasn't put one in. So if Elliot, would you mind throwing a card up for that? And
so just, do you want a new card in addition to this card?
I think so, because what we need is, aside from the documentation, like, I guess the question is, are we going to fully deprecate that thing, and when? If we're not going to deprecate it like on the immediate, then it needs to be fixed to function the same way in both locations. If we are going to deprecate it immediately, then it needs to not function in one way, and the docs need to be updated.
Yep.
I see. Okay. All right. I might just add some words to this card.
Hey,
Okay,
hey guys, can you hear me? I had a contractor here. I had to step away, but I heard my name being called, and this sounds familiar. I apologize for having to make you repeat words, but
So
what was the outstanding issue?
So this was the case where if you put your user toml in the old location, the hab service, my service user.toml, the current experience is that it will get picked up, but it won't be watched, and you'll see a deprecation warning. If you stick it in the correct location, it just works. But I only found that out after spending an insane amount of time poring over the code. And then I discovered that you'd had exactly the same experience. And you and I both said it is our reason for existence to get this documented properly. And then I promptly didn't continue to exist. So I wonder whether the same thing happened to you, because I then saw this pop up again a few days ago, and I thought, I'm sure Matt was going to do that, or I was going to do that, and it looks like neither of us did. So that's the documentation. And then,
I'm sorry.
And then the subsequent piece is, if it's going to be deprecated, then the documentation definitely needs to be correct, and there's no change needed to the code other than to rip out the old stuff. But if it's going to be not deprecated anytime soon, then we need to fix the experience of the deprecated path not being watched.
Okay, yeah, so what my experience was, one, I think similar to you, like I didn't see it documented. I had like looked through the source code, and that was like super frustrating. And then, but then I was using the deprecated path, but like it was working for me. So I did, I put up with the deprecation messages. But then when I documented, I figured, well, if I'm going to document this, I might as well use the correct path. But yeah, it sounds like some people have used the correct path without success. Is that?
Yeah, so that's what I picked up in the Slack like yesterday or the day before, which was surprising to me because I'm using the correct path and it's working.
Oh, okay, that's interesting. So if that's the case though, so it was documented. Like there was a PR, it got merged. So there is documentation now that for the correct path. It's in the configuration area, where we talk about all the configuration stuff, and just in the reference documentation. So it's definitely there. So if that correct path is behaving correctly, then we're good. If it's not behaving correctly, then we have a definite bug.
So,
but it's absolutely documented. It is documented.
Right. So what's being said here is that the hab service name user toml works, and that's the only thing that works.
So
at least that's what was reported by Bixu.
So I'm totally using the hab user everywhere, and it's working. So I mean, maybe we just need to try and see if we can reproduce this. Is this an edge case? Is it a version thing? But I mean, all of my stuff is using hab user, my service config.
Okay, cool. Well, what I'm going to do then is I'm going to drop this into the backlog, and I'm going to leave a quick note on it, just that says we need to kind of dig into this and see what it is that's actually going on here. So there is a note in here from Jamie where he was discussing, I guess, the new location where that got moved to initially, or this new location of hab user is not exactly in line with what we intended the layout of the Habitat file system. So there is a chance that this could even change again in the future. But it's not something that I know is prioritized right now. Either way, I've put it in the backlog, and I'll add a quick note here, and then we can move on.
Yeah, I think that's the bigger issue. That config directory isn't really meant to add random stuff into it, right? It's prescribed based on how the package is laid out. So it's not that somebody forgot to put user tomo inside of config. That was designed that way, and I don't understand the reasoning why it was put inside of config. There's a comment here that says that work was done for this commit, but anyways, I think at this point it sounds like we just have to support both of them. We can't break any of them because there's many cases here that are using these. But maybe remove that message. That message is pretty annoying.
Yeah, the message is annoying, but it definitely does not get watched if you put it in the old location.
Oh, I thought he said there's a fallback.
So I tested it quite extensively, and I could not get the supervisor to notice a change if I made a change. And in fact, I think the deprecation warning explicitly says,
yeah, it does.
This will not be watched.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a reason that they put it in hab user. I think it was the technical limitation of watching inside the service directory for changes. But I think Kreshmir is the one that wrote that, so you'd probably be the right person to tag on.
It's a mess. We need to fix it. If we're gonna have both places, we need to make sure they're washed properly.
Cool. Let's go ahead and move on to 1402. Yeah, this is just a little bug. It's pretty straightforward. It's a bug in the plan. It needs to get, just needs to probably get tweaked as soon as somebody has the time. So maybe this week we'll take a look at that. All right. 1398. So this is something that I see all the time in Go packages, where the CI cert bundle path is hard coded into whatever the binary it is. It's super annoying, but it's something that that people have been doing for a really long time. Not just in Go, obviously, but so for a while we were trying to tweak this. Like in the studio, I think that originally I had changed the studio to actually link the CA cert bundle, the Habitat packaged CA cert bundle, into like one of the known locations. But that might have gotten removed because it might have caused problems, and I can't totally recall. In the context of the studio, though, I think that this works, and in the context of a container, Oh, maybe it doesn't, I guess. I mean, it's unfortunate that the predominant is on like the exact opposite time zone on the opposite side of the planet right now, or we could ask him. But has anybody else run into this with cert bundle not getting linked appropriately?
I think I've seen people trying to work around it, but I've never encountered it myself. Either way, it's probably at a bare minimum a documentation thing of how to work around it.
Cool. All right, I'm going to go ahead and throw this in the backlog as well. I'll put it in as a chore. It might be documentation. I'll add the documentation flag as well. It might not be. I think there's some work that will need to go into that. Worst case, yeah, I think Elliot is on point on that. So, all right, 1397. Whoa. Light hash, lib GHT hash. I mean, so this one is just not, man. We've run into this in the past with some other software, but we always had some other place that we could go and get the source.
So the author created the tag in GitHub. So is this just going to work?
Perhaps.
Yeah, there you go. Re-release the
Yeah,
tag.
perfect. Okay, so it just needs to get updated. Great. Oh, actually, it sounds like it is actually building now, so I think we can probably close this out.
Sweet.
All right. Let's go back in here. I think I've probably messed this up again. All right. 385.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That would be awesome.
Yeah. So is there usually like a a main URL that you can hit that'll get you to a mirror?
I don't know about that. I do know this is something we've talked about a bunch, having effectively just pull through where you can get it from some kind of a cache, but
I think some of the old JDK packages are mirrored on an old place.
it's very, very possible.
Certainly remember seeing that.
Yeah, I like it. This is kind of the way that Fletcher's talked about this. This is something that he and I have talked about, just because SourceForge is like SourceForge. It's like a pretty common thing anymore that you try to get some source from SourceForge and it's just down. You just can't hit it. So I think the original idea is just to have basically like an array of potential locations in the plan. It would be like, here's all of the possible places, and it would just go and try to get that source from the first location. If it fails, it would go to some secondary location, some other mirror or something. That way we're not hosting our own mirroring service. The builders doesn't have to do anything special. It's really literally just sort of checking more than one place for the source if the initial location is not available, which I think is pretty sane.
Yeah, so that's how we used to do it in CentOS Builder. There was just an array of things that the builder jobs would pick up and run through, and it would try one and then try another and then try another. So it wasn't hosted, it was just redirecting to wherever you might find one.
Yeah, I think that's probably a good thing. Let's do this. I'm going to go ahead and put this in the backlog, and I'm going to put it in as a feature, and we'll just put a needs discussion label on it so we can get some more thoughts on what that feels like. And if any of you feel like adding thoughts to this project, to this, just feel free to. For now, though, I think it is something that we should do just to cut down on the number of transitive failures that are just based on, a download location not being up at the moment that a build gets kicked off.
Yeah,
because that can be pretty time consuming when it's all bundled up with our deterministic builds. So cool. 1394. This kind of falls into that same spot.
Like a squid proxy or something.
Only somebody spent all of his life doing that.
I kind of like this idea as well.
That would be more reliable.
Yeah.
It's almost like you want to do both. If the pull-through archive iterated through a list of possible locations and then cached one, but then that's infrastructure to maintain. So
yeah, that could be good. Does anybody see any issue with, have any concerns about that, or is it if we had this kind of functionality, would everybody be like pretty much thumbs up on it?
I think people would be pretty stoked if we had that.
Yeah.
All right. let's go ahead and put it in the backlog then. I don't know. I guess this would be sort of a core plans. It's not really actually a core plans. I'm wondering if we want a different issue open for this. This is really separate from, like, it's bound up in this, like the fact that JRE9 and JDK9 won't build anymore. That's how we found out about it, but that's not the actual thing. The solution here is separate from this issue, right?
Right.
So would one of you want to open another issue that kind of links back to this? While you're doing that, we can keep moving on. I'll just continue to tap Elliot to do these things.
Yeah. I was just looking I unmuted to say, like, I'm going to go look at it.
Okay,
Right.
cool.
I very nearly clicked new issue.
I mean, if you want it, go for it, but...
I got it.
Cool. 1391. It's the same. This is going to be bound up in that same thing as well. So this is just a bug in the package. It needs to be updated. It's not as complex as the JDK thing, where Oracle just straight takes away your access to the thing that they've deprecated.
Ticket we were just looking at again, the one before, so I can link it.
Yes, that was. We'll close this one down. Crap. Where'd it go?
Probably just search for JDK.
Don't worry, I'll find it.
Yeah, sorry about that. My dog started going the moment that I started to look, so I need to close my office door. Okay, let's look at 382 next. Cool. Well, that sounds like it might be a real bug. We'll try to get some clarification on this from Irving. But if we are, in fact, nuking the images in the Docker Hub, that's a problem. That would be a big problem. Hopefully that is not. Hopefully that's a little more nuanced than that. But let's go ahead and put this in here. All right, 4956. Oh, yes. This is a good one to talk about. This is something that's come up a bunch of times. And yeah, and I don't know if we've ever been able to kind of settle on one feeling about it. But anybody who's kind of worked with core plans or any plan for that matter for any like extended period of time has probably run into this.
So where I ended up on this was if a linter was running kind of regularly in one's local environment, it would pick this up, and you wouldn't have the problem. So I still think it needs to be explicitly documented that says, hey, if you really need to use bash in your hooks, it's cool, you can do that, but you just obviously need to make sure that you have a runtime dependency.
I've hit this myself too. It's confusing. Yeah.
But generally, having a linter running, as John says, would catch that. I don't think we want to put a linter in the hook builder, because I think that's overhead that's not needed. Because the hook should be linted and checked kind of earlier. It's kind of the responsibility of the plan manager rather than the supervisor to catch against it.
Yeah, I think that this is probably a build time concern. It should be something we should be able to do too. It should be pretty straightforward to just kind of the only complication that I see with it is something that Fletcher and I have talked about a few times, which is just that like the noise, the amount of noise, the output from a build with Habitat right now is pretty extreme. And so like what might make the most sense in most cases would be, well, you go to build, and when you go to build, you get a warning that's like, hey, this is a thing that's going on in your code here, where you've got a shebang that doesn't actually map to something that's going to be safe. If you expect to use bash, then here's how you do that. But with our output, there's so much of it.
It'll just get overlooked, won't it? I mean, that's the thing. People go numb to it. They look at it and say, wow, that's a lot of stuff. I'm not going to read any of it.
Yep. Yeah, I totally don't ever read my output unless I've got an error. So we'll have to figure out implementation-wise what makes sense, but I do think that it does make sense to have some way for people to do this. Some way for us to check this in a straightforward manner. Chances are, like most of that build is, if we're going to modify it in the build or in the studio, could be Rust or Shell.
Yeah.
So I'll dump both of those down. That's going to be developer experience. And we'll dump this into the backlog. Great. So that's probably going to be it this week. I've actually got a hard stop because I've got to get on another call here in 3 minutes. So for the week of April 24th, not bad. Got in over 20 of them. So we will meet again on next Tuesday. Thanks everybody for joining. Really appreciate it.
No problem.